Writers Academy. I'm Mona Bhatia, and today I'm taking poetic appreciation of the poem Indian Weavers. This is a very short and sweet poem depicting three important stages of man's life. And in the poetic appreciation, I'll be covering theme, title, special features, style, and message, moral values, and also my opinion about the poem. Let's get started now.
As I told you that in the poetic appreciation we'll be talking about the poem, poet and title. So this poem is a very short and sweet poem of three stanzas depicting three stages of man's life through the weaver's creation. In a way it depicts the life of man. It's three main events. They are birth, marriage and death. The time of the day weavers weaving also relate to the three stages, and the color of the garment also relate to the three stages and mood of the weavers. And the mood of the weaver is also, a reflection of the event and that man is going through. The poet is Sarojini Naidu, and she was an Indian freedom fighter, pre-independence, very important figure of pre-independence era. And she post-independence also she had been an eminent personality. As far as I remember, she was the first governor, lady governor of a state. And the title of the poem is, the poet is about is about Indian weavers. The title is Indian Weavers, so it's a very apt title, and the whole poem is revolving around Indian weavers, actually the weavers. And the poet asks the weavers a question in each stanza and gets a satisfying answer. And it shows metaphorical connections, or you can say a comparison with the garment and the time of the day with the stage of man's life. So the title is very apt, and I suppose the word Indian is added to the word weaver, maybe just to give the importance to the weaving profession of India, which took a back seat during the British rule, and the weavers were going through a very rough and tough phase of their profession. That was actually a very bad time for them, because at that time Gandhi, they were British goods were introduced to the Indian market, and they were very cheap and inexpensive, and they were very fancy clothes, so people were all attracted towards them, and the Indian weavers were suffering a lot because of that. So Gandhiji took it upon himself and promoted charkha to teach Indians to respect Indian weavers and promote Indian fabric. So I think the addition of the word Indian is to relate that incident to the weavers, and the word Indian to motivate Indian weavers, and the Indian weavers can uh, it's basically to tell us that Indian weavers were capable of making garment for every occasion from birth to death. So that could be the reason that Indian word was used for the weaver. Otherwise it could have been only weavers also. The theme of the poem depicts the cycle of life and how man is born and gets into the cycle of life, gets married, gives birth to children, and then finally dies. But the life continues, and these main events of his life are metaphorically related to the time of the day. Day also progresses in the same manner, and this cycle continues. Not only that, the mood of the weavers also changes as the life progresses, and also the mood of the person also changes as the life progresses. The color of the fabric is also in accordance with the mood of the event depicted. So style of the poem is a question and answer format, and this style makes the reader inquisitive. The curiosity is evoked and the reader is compelled to think. The reader is eager to know the answers of the weaver, and the answers by the weaver completely satisfies him, because there is a philosophy here, Indian philosophy you can say, or whatever, because this theme is even taken up by William Shakespeare in his poem All the World is a Stage. And readers can connect the time and birth, time and marriage, time of the day and death, And not only that, the color of the garment, the birds mentioned in the first two stanza, and the dead object used in the last stanza, they also make these, these things metaphorically relate to these objects. So language here used is very, very simple but impressive. The rhyme scheme of this poem in the first stanza is AABB, second stanza is CCDD, and in the third stanza it is EEFF respectively. And the figures of speech which are used in the poem is alliteration, which is a major figure of speech. And the sound of W in this poem is at least repeated 20 times in this poem. So the major figure of speech is alliteration, and apart from alliteration, um, metaphor is also used in this line. Weavers weaving at the break of the day. Break of the day is a metaphor for birth of a child. Then weavers weaving at fall of night, and fall of night is a metaphor for for marriage. And then similes are used in the poem many a times, like in this blue as the uh, wing of a halcyon wild, and in like the plumes of a peacock purple and green. And because the word use like and as is used, so the figure of speech is simile, because there is a direct comparison. The garment of the child is, the cloth of the child is blue as the halcyon wild, and the veil of the girl who is getting married is like the plumes of a peacock. So there is a direct comparison. And the dead man's shroud is as white as feather and as white as cloud. So there is a direct comparison. Okay, and in each stanza there is an interrogation. So these are the major figures of speech here. All right, and it's there is a very beautiful, I would like to emphasize on this: white as a cloud and white as a feather. So the feather is also detached, so there is also an indirect comparison. The person who is dead is also detached. And white as as cloud, there is again a hidden comparison also, because the cloud will disappear in some time. It will not be there in the same place. It's moving. It can be seen now, but after some time it will not be there. It also changes shape, and then it goes and dissolves in the sky. So is the dead man. So it has a very deep, comparison, if you understand that. Special feature, message, and moral of the poem. As you see, the special feature is the question and answers format, and it there is a message of life and its stages, except the stages with its joys and sorrows. Nothing is permanent. There is a cycle of life and death, and for to continue that cycle, there is a marriage in between. There is also a message of dignity of labor, and how the weavers are enjoying their work throughout the day, right from dawn to the break of day and then till night. Though their mood also changes, but their work continues. So the poem also gives us a message to detach ourselves like the bird's feather, and like a cloud will also disappear one day, but the life will continue. And now my opinion about the poem. Okay, I think this poem was written during the pre-independence era, and during that time, Indian weavers were facing struggle and to earn their livelihood. All right, because of the influx of British goods at that time, because that was the time of industrial revolution in Britain, and lots of cloth factories were there, and which produced goods at cheaper rate, and that flooded the Indian markets. And all Indians were attracted towards those goods because they were good in quality and they were cheap also. So British companies who started selling cloths at low prices, and that affected Indian weavers a lot, who were already having hand to mouth situation. So Gandhiji came to their rescue, and they evoked a sense of dignity among Indian weavers and told Indians to buy Indian cloth and good, and boycott British goods and factory made cloth. And to support that, he himself started weaving charkha. And I feel strongly that this poem was written by Sarojini Naidu, who was also inspired by Gandhiji and was his ardent follower. So apart from this, the poem also emphasizes on the three main events of man's life. The first two are birth and marriage, and which signify change and growth, and the third event is death, which is compared to the white feather and fall of full of there is no emotion actually in that. So detached. Apart from this, poem also emphasizes on the three main events of man's life. The first two are birth and marriage, which signifies change, and growth. All right, and the third event is death, which is compared to white feather, which is detached from a bird, or a white cloud. Just like the cloud, the body will also disappear in some time, because cloud never stays, and the shape of the cloud also, if you have observed, it changes after some time. All right, it will not be seen after some time. That's the reality of life. And the poetess conclude the poem on this note: there are no emotion attached to this state. All right, so that was all about the poetic appreciation.
I hope you enjoyed watching the poetic appreciation of the poem Indian Weavers. The next poem, which is a ballet by Robert Southey, will be uploaded very soon. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and do share widely with your friends. I have made a playlist of the poem, and it's of 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade of Maharashtra board. Keep learning, have a wonderful day, stay safe, and stay healthy. Bye bye.